Why hello everyone and welcome back to SamCastGS. I haven't put much thought into what I'm going to talk about today, so I'm just going to go somewhere random. Here's something. I've watched a lot of sci-fi horror movies in the past. On the Sci-Fi Channel they have a special Saturday thing where they show a bunch of movies that correlate with the special premiere movie that premieres at 9 o'clock. I've watched so many of these movies that I'm quite confident that if I was ever in one of these movies, I would be able to survive. I know all the basics, like the do's and don'ts of what to do and what not to do, and what will get you killed and what will save you. Let's start with a simple concept. Say there's a group of friends that are going to a party. There's always 5 friends. They're all in a Jeep, and one of those Jeeps that doesn't have the roof, just the basic frame where the people sit. There's 3 people sitting in the back, and then there's the passenger and the driver. Now the driver is a guy, the passenger is a girl, and the other 3 in the back is most likely 2 guys and 1 other girl, or vice versa. So one of the guys in the back seat has always been drinking, so he taps on the driver's shoulder and says, Dude, I know a shortcut. Yeah. And the shortcut is always a creepy trail surrounded by dead trees. It could be springtime and there will be dead trees along that trail. So the driver's like, okay. First mistake. When the backseat driver is telling you what to do, especially if he's drunk, don't listen to him! That's a concept you gotta follow even if you're not in a sci-fi horror movie. Just don't listen to drunk backseat drivers. So they take the shortcut. It's supposed to take like an hour off their time. 4 hours later, they're like, I think we're lost. Really? I could have told you that after the first hour, driving and not getting anywhere. This drunk guy has no sense of direction whatsoever. So they keep driving because they're idiots. And it starts to get dark. It could have been morning by the time they started. It will always be dark around the time when suddenly their tire goes flat because their tires were slashed by some mysterious means. Either that or the car breaks down, either way. So they get out of the car and they expect the tire or the engine. And once they're convinced that they're not going anywhere, they decide to push the vehicle to the nearest town if there's one nearby. So they spot a town, and it's called like Happydale or like Tranquil Town. Something like really calming, but at the same time, it's a creepy name for a town. And there's always that mechanic who has a shop right at the edge of the village, conveniently. So they push the vehicle to the guy, and he's like, seems to be the problem. And they look at the guy, and it's like, yeah, our car broke down, and we need to fix it. I can fix it for you. Second mistake. This guy is crazy. He's always got like overalls, no shirt. He's wearing no shoes. He's got 3 teeth total. So they decide to trust the guy, and it's like, how long is it gonna take? And he's like, it should be done by the morning. You can stay at Mrs. Wilkerson's place. So they say, okay. Third mistake. Mrs. Wilkerson? An inn in a creepy town is bad enough. You're staying at a woman's house in a creepy village that you've never heard of in your life. It's not on the map. So they go to Mrs. Wilkerson's place, and she's always the nicest old lady, like, oh, you're welcome to stay as long as you like. I don't know why she's like half Southern, half British. I don't know why I mix those accents all of a sudden. So they get their things into the room, and then they go to sleep. And the next morning, they wake up and they go to the mechanic, and he's like, yeah, it's going to take longer than I thought. You kind of have a blasted, exploded gyro figure. It's like he's making up car parts. Yeah, we're going to have to wait for a new one of those to come in because I don't have any of them in stock. Should be about 3 days. At this point, they start to get suspicious, but they're like, okay. So they go to wander the town, and there's creepy townsfolk that they meet, like the creepy store owner, who's a guy. He's got the receding hairline up to here, and he's got the hair just around here, and he's got glasses. He's always wearing that white button-up shirt, white or white with some plaid stripes. He's got it tucked into his dark brown pants, and the place is crazy dusty. Like, there's no way anybody ever visits this store. One of the girls, if there's 3 girls, or one of the guys, if there's 3 guys, goes and wanders off somewhere they shouldn't be. Like, they find a shed, and they go inside, and they find, like, sickles and machetes and all this creepy stuff. And then he turns around to go warn his friends, and Mr. Wilkerson is standing there like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be poking around in things that aren't yours. He's like, okay, and then he leaves. So he goes and warns his friends, and they're about to get out of there, And then Mr. Wilkerson is at the door with a shotgun. You ain't going nowhere, strangers. So they somehow find a way to get the shotgun out of his hands, and all but one guy, it's always a guy, he stays behind to fight Mr. Wilkerson because he's the brave guy. He's got like a baseball bat that he found somewhere just in the house. But then Mrs. Wilkerson comes up and beats him over the head with a bottle, and then he falls unconscious, and that's the last you ever see of him. Start running out in the woods. Now, one of the girls, it's always the girl, trips. They keep running because they're freaking a-holes. She's like, wait! So she gets up, she's twisted her ankle, so she's limping after them. And suddenly she's looking around because she hears something. She's like, hello? Hello? I don't know why she has a voice like that. I'm just making up voices as I go along for these people. She sounds like a 12-year-old. So suddenly she hears something again, and she turns around, and then there's somebody with a chainsaw, some other large cutting device. So you hear her scream, and then the group turns around like, where'd Sheila go? So they go back to find her, and now they're hopelessly lost in the woods where they start getting picked off one by one. By the time it gets down to the person who was the driver and the girl who was the passenger, they've killed a couple people who've come after them. And then, it's always the guy who you thought was dead. He's like the humorous guy, or the guy that you liked, but then he died and you're like, oh, I don't like this movie anymore. He jumps in and then he saves them. He either gets away with them, or he dies in the process. They finally escape, they get back to the road eventually, and then a truck driver comes by and it's like, hey, we need to ride out of here! And then he lets them in and they drive off, and then it just slowly fades with creepy music. I'll talk for a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video with that. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on Friday.